What it do, beloved? It's your boy back at it again. You already know. Let's hop into it. Verse 33, chapter 12, book of Matthew. I know we read it last time, but I'm going to read it again. I'm going to start back up. You know what I'm saying? Either make the tree good and his fruit good, or else make the tree corrupt and his fruit corrupt. For the tree is known by his fruit. O generation of vipers, how can ye, being evil, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaketh. A good man out of the good treasure of the heart bringeth forth good things, and an evil man out of the evil treasure bringeth forth evil things. But I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. Dang. Got a lot, bro. That's a lot, bro. Dang. Run it back real quick. Run it back. Either make the tree good, verse 33, and his fruit good, or else make the tree corrupt and his fruit corrupt, for the tree is known by his fruits. Yeah, truly. I mean, gut instinct, judging a book by its cover type activities. It is something that you can, I mean, that's seeming, that's what I'm seeing here, right? You can look at a tree and know if the tree is good by looking at its fruit, right? You can take a quick glance at a tree. You can see its fruit. Is it rotting? Then it's probably bad. Is it withering? Are they small? Are they full of bugs? I don't know. Look at it. Take a look. You know an apple tree is good if the apples on there look good, right? Maybe they're little baby apples, but they still look decent, right? Maybe they a different color, but hey, there's a bunch of different colors of dang apples. There's a bunch of different types of apples, but you can tell a good apple from a bad apple, right? I think, right? I mean, you can tell a lot about someone by how they act, right? I ran into a case very recently where I knew that someone I was dealing with was someone that I didn't really agree with, right? I knew the type of guy that he was. I knew he had a large ego, right? That he thought very highly of himself, right? I could just tell by how he carried himself, how he talked, how he acted, right? But he was nice, I guess, to me. He was, he had an outgoing personality, so he said, "What's up?" And you know what? I ain't typically one to just be rude for no reason, right? And unless you give me a reason, as much as you might rub me away, right? I ain't going to just disregard you because of that, right? I'm always going to give you a chance. I'm going to attempt to give you a chance, right? So I did, right? And I mean, I knew, again, the type of guy he was, right? At least I thought I did. I wasn't like for sure, because I didn't know the guy that well. But I had a gut feeling. I had an intuition, right? But I still gave him a chance. And I, decided to work with him a little bit. I mean, we can probably all know how that turned out. Hey, just kind of took no accountability for anything that he did wrong and tried to blame me for a bunch of stuff I didn't really do. I will say I can take accountability and say that I didn't do the best, right? Either I didn't communicate properly. I didn't I didn't I don't know if it's stand my ground or I was just I took on more than I agreed to because, I mean, maybe I'm prideful. Maybe I got to humble myself. But because I didn't really care, right? I was like, yeah, I can do it. It's whatever. And because I had a different impression of the situation. But I'm just saying, I've run into that recently. And that's what I'm thinking about, right? Where you can tell a lot by someone and how they act, right? And a lot of times your gut feeling is worth something, right? Your intuition, God gave you intuition for a reason, right? So I don't know, maybe take into account a little bit more. Maybe just go a little slower. Pay attention to people's fruits, right? It's okay to give someone a chance, but don't give them a big chance. Give them a little something first. You know what I'm saying? And see what they do with it. All right. Let's keep pushing. I want to get a little bit farther along here. 34. O generation of vipers, how can ye, being evil, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaketh. These next few are getting into it, right? Getting into something that's interesting to me. That's been something that I've been thinking about, right? Your words, right? Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh, right? They say there's a little truth in every joke, right? That a lot of times, you're saying what you really mean when you joking around, right? And I've been struggling with thinking about like swearing, right? Or joking around with my boys on the job site, right? And just saying like crude and crass things, just to make the day go by, right? Just because it's, you're with your boys. It's fun. It's fun to make each other laugh. It's fun to make yourself laugh, stuff like that. But it's not always about, maybe it's a personal problem, but ain't usually joking about things that are good, right? Usually it's taking things to an extreme, right? Because extremities are fun because it's just bizarre and out of pocket, right? Not things that you usually are expected to say, right? And it's been making me think a little bit. It's like, like, is that something that I should be saying? Is that a little bit of truth coming out? I don't know. I don't think so. But right here, it's saying out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh, right? And then it keeps going. And I don't know, maybe I'll come back to that a little bit, but going to 35, a good man out of the good treasure of the heart bringeth forth good things, and an evil man out of the evil treasure bringeth forth evil things. Good treasure of the heart. Trying to coincide that with 34, I wanted to go to 36, I guess, and say, but I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. So going, coinciding that with 34, talking about, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh, right? The swearing, right? I be swearing a lot, bro. I ain't even gonna lie. Especially at work, when I'm tired, I ain't really thinking super peak. I ain't really putting a lot of thought and effort into my words. I have a lot of filler words sometimes. A lot of those filler words are swear words, right? Or sometimes I'll get a little, no, it's typically just when I'm like kind of more tired than anything. Or, speaking with heavy emotion, maybe, right? If I am feeling like I'm gonna cry, right? I'm gonna I'm gonna swear a little bit more, right? Just so I can put that emotion into something else other than my eyes, right? Other than, let my heart, get some of that emotion out in other ways besides my eyes, right? So I don't want to be gay, be a little puss boy, crying and stuff. So sometimes I swear to help me with that, right? But right here, every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned, right? So, and also it's like with the swear words, right? Our society thinks they're bad, right? But I don't know of any Bible verse. Maybe I do. Maybe we'll get to it. I don't know. There's definitely, I think there's might be something, but seemingly this right here is like, what I was gonna say is I don't know off the top of my head any verse, any Bible passage that says, "Oh, don't swear, don't say bad words," right? Because bad words are different in every language, right? Do these bad words, are they actually bad, or in my schizo brain, does society just not want you to say them because they're words that have power, right? Because they have done studies where if you swear while doing something of physical strength or physically strenuous, right? When you swear, you get a little boost in power, right? A little boost in strength. That's an interesting thought, right? Maybe society actually has taken things that help you or things that are powerful and made them taboo to fluoridate you. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But that's my little schizo. That's my little schizo rant for the day. Right? Kind of like how the world has taken the one thing that God loves, right? The main people that God has loved, and turned them into something that is diabolical, right? And not good at all. And basically tarnishing the reputation of God, right? Interesting. Always got to think about that. Always like, is this something that's been switched around, right? I don't know. But swear words, right? Not to get too off topic, not to let the schizo mind take over too hard, but swear words, right? Are they bad? I don't know. I feel bad sometimes when I be saying them. More so when I overuse them, right? When I rely on them too much. But I don't know, dude. I also want to put it on a good representation and be a good emissary of Christ, right? Would that emissary be using swear words, using profanity? Why are swear words considered bad? Maybe that's a research thing I got to do. But I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment, right? Even the words that you be using as filler, even those words that you be using when you're tired, right? Even the things that you say that you didn't put a lot of thought into, that you just be throwing out there. That's they're gonna run it back, you know? It's an interesting thought, right? For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. What's that mean? What's that mean? What does that mean? Does that mean? Bro. What does that mean? Right? You'll be justified by your words? Because it is saying, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. So, if your heart is truly in the right spot, your words will follow. So therefore, you're going to be judged on your words because your words come from the heart, right? And that's the best way to judge someone's heart is through the words. But what about people that lie? What about lying? Is that why the father of lies is Satan? Is because it's the one way to mask your heart, the one way to mask who you truly are is by lying, right? So therefore, you can't truly trust anyone because there's always a possibility of lying, right? You can't truly be certain in someone's heart because there's the possibility of lying, right? And he basically made a rift between everyone, father, son, brothers, daughters, right? Mothers, friends, family, all types. There's a slight rift between innately, naturally. I think you can get over it, but it makes it a lot more difficult to truly rely, truly love people because of lying, right? Because when you lie, you're masking who you really are, your true intentions, your true heart, right? And it's hard for humans to know when you're lying. There's obviously like the body language stuff, but most people don't really know about that, right? Most people don't pay attention to that, right? I know I don't, right? But yeah, that's interesting. I might have done a little too much schizo ranting this time around, but I appreciate you sticking around because I might run that back next video just to cover it a little bit more. All right, but appreciate y'all sticking around. Love y'all. Ask the Father to bless you in Jesus' name. Amen.